I think that it's important to comprehend the contextual dilemma presented by this statement and why there is so much concern regarding AI. In essence, this makes it quite clear that the position of earnings, whilst there have been some who have made some money from their music, most have struggled to do so. Therefore, the query here is, what problem does AI solve or seek to solve? Is it to solve the problem of monetization for creators, thereby making them more profitable? Or is it really to undo what little remains? Recently, Tim O'Reilly suggested that AI is a mirror and not a master. Much like Esling's keynote in 2020, O'Reilly would like to change the paradigm regarding how artificial intelligence is discussed and perceived. Yet I argue that AI distorts the working and productive process into one that suits the machine rather than the human. More precisely, it is computer scientists and developers who are the agents who bring about these changes to the conditions of production, and AI is merely their tool. This alteration of production conditions, a core aspect of capitalism, leads to the establishment of new practices for enrichment purposes. Whilst this might not be the primary intention, especially when argued as part of a democratic turn and wider access to tools, regardless of this, the resultant effects are no less tangible. Therefore, Esling and O'Reilly's attempts to persuade otherwise is looking at the issue from the wrong end of the telescope. Huang and colleagues noted three important aspects when musical humans use current AI tools. These were that AI was not easily decomposable, i.e., not easy to tweak individual musical components. Secondly, was not context aware, not fully aware of the musical context it was generating for. And lastly, not easily steerable, not easy to request for the music to bear a certain mood or effect. Evidence from a variety of projects suggests that this leads musicians to adopting a generate then curate approach as identified by Durruti and colleagues. AI project outputs such as Daddy's Car, the lost tapes of the 27 Club, and Huawei's attempt to finish Schubert's unfinished symphony all herald AI as composer. Yet they actually involve a very large human workforce to shape the AI's output into something musically meaningful. Together, these issues must be kept in mind as evidence of the computer changing music production working practices. These fit Marx's description of distorting the worker into a fragment of a man. They degrade him to the level of an appendage of a machine. As evidence of these changes of production conditions, I examine the application AIVA and demonstrate how it creates alienation and why it is ultimately an alien power. AIVA is an AI tool composing music based upon a number of well-established preset styles and parameters, which Offert and Fan, when considering OpenAI, describe this as a technique, as a means of putting words in the user's mouth. Presets can be thought of as operating in a similar way as these text-based prompts, in that they constrain the universe of possibilities to those offered by the developer, which is further confirmed as AIVA is also presented as a composer of emotional soundtracks, which is evidence of it as a canonic tool and automatic composition generator. AIVA offers access to generating musical works via subscriptions, what can be referred to as algorithmic rents. This is not uncommon in a world that has moved away from the ownership model, but is part of an overarching capitalist enterprise to extract a myriad of benefits from users. Non-ownership of the tool reveals that the process of alienation, at least as Fisher describes it, is both a precondition for exploitation and the result thereof. Thus, AIVA removes the ability of users to own the means of production. AIVA has 3 subscription levels, shown here in Figure 1. As is standard amongst many platform-based technology companies, AIVA offers a free tier, usually as the gateway drug. AIVA, more so than most AI platforms, controls user production by also restricting users at the free and standard tiers from monetizing their labor efforts, thereby changing the production condition at these levels. The only solution for users who might wish to monetize their work, even if only to recoup the subscription cost, is higher rents where these conditions do not apply. AIVA also benefits from human user production activity at all subscription levels, as users' work is also ingested by the machine, meaning that the machine learns from this unaccounted for labor at all tiers. The effect of this is to make it difficult for any user, especially at the highest subscription tier, to obtain a novel compositional or production advantage. Essentially, their labor produces an improvement benefit for all users, especially the company. Free and standard tier users do not own their own copyrights. These are assigned to AIVA as part of using the system. Therefore, free and standard tier users are dispossessed of their copyrights by AIVA. These are accumulated for potential future revenue generation opportunities such as synchronization. This also reveals AIVA as a competitor in the creative space. Obtaining copyrights, however, must be understood as not an unusual practice in respect of the early music industry. For example, a music publisher paid a fee to the composer to acquire the copyright in their musical compositions. The publisher would sell the works to performers who needed songs. The sheet music returned greater revenues from show and stage song catalogues. The lucrative returns from radio and stage performance permitted the publisher to pay a royalty percentage back to the composer. The arrangement with AIVA is one where this economic relationship is broken. AIVA owns. There is no money in the transaction other than the user paying for the privilege of using the software. Huang and colleagues' earlier point regarding 3 observable difficulties means that AIVA attempts to solve these by introducing what the company refers to as composing with influence, or CWI. CWI means that a user at any tier can upload a track or MIDI file to influence AIVA's composition. The question to be asked here is, where does this track come from? If it is a commercially released track, then it is a breach of copyright. If it is scraped from the internet, such as a MIDI file, a process used by the LAC dataset, then it is either copyright infringement or, if the owner cannot be identified, it is an orphan file, which copyright law clearly states cannot be used commercially, unless of course you acquire a license. Finally, if the track is one made by the user, then CWI also infringes the user's own copyright by AIVA's deriving a new copyright based on a pre-existing track. The overall effect is that CWI alienates all rights holders. That music copyrights at the free or standard tiers will be owned by AIVA, and that all CWI music will be ingested by the machine for the benefit of all, that is, AIVA, thereby improving the machine by proxy. In this, AIVA demonstrates the power of decisions embedded in design that have significant ramifications. This is why no AI can be described as evolutionary nor neutral, nor a continuation, without first accepting the conditions of alienation and dispossession that arise. These examples satisfy Braverman's definition of alien power, where the machines must not be the property of the producer, nor of the associated producers, but of an alien power. To me, the property of the producer are the music creators. The associated producers are the record labels and publishers. Therefore, the alien power are those who seek to control at the next level of production. I know that many AI researchers and AI developers will not see their work using this paradigm. What I mean by this is that there is sufficient evidence here that these changes to production conditions are significant, not neutral, nor unhinged as Esling would characterize them. They are also a continuity, but perhaps not what Esling intended, but instead a continuity with capitalism. AIVA is capitalism at its most accumulative and extractive. Thus, if O'Reilly is looking for a mirror, then perhaps the reflection is capitalism's own visage. Therefore, this alien power is more like a master and not a mirror.